Okay, good morning. We'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Nicholas County Commission to order. Today is July 19, 2023. It is 9:06 a.m. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Or are you here for an appointment on the agenda? Okay. That being said, if one of you gentlemen would like to begin with the motions on the right.
After review, we'd like to review and waive the reading of the minutes for May 17, 2023 and June 14, 2023 with a motion to approve or amend.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon review of exonerations as presented by the Nicholas County Assessor, move to approve accordingly.
That motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon review of the assessment judiciary matters as presented by the Nicholas County Clerk, move to approve accordingly unless otherwise noted.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon submission of budget revisions received by the elected officials and department heads, the Commission will take appropriate action as deemed necessary.
The motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Lost my train of thought. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon review of invoices as submitted by the various departmental offices, and the Commission will take appropriate action as deemed necessary.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry. That's proof you don't read something and try to say something else. Terms of office expiring, we still have one seat on the Nicholas County Public Defender Corporation. This is the seat of Clyde Bales, who resigned, and this is a term of office expiring August 1st of 2025. I still do not have anybody.
But there's somebody in the way.
So they're trying to, okay, so that'd be good to get a recommendation from them. The Nicholas County Farmland Protection Program Board, we have a resignation of Mr. Randy Tucker, who has served on this board for some time. Appreciate his time spent on the Farmland Protection Board. And so first, we do need a motion to accept his resignation, which I can provide you if you'd like to see it. Very simple.
Motion to accept the resignation.
Motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion does carry. For the unexpired term of office of Mr. Tucker, again with that term of office expiring June 30th, 2027, the Farmland Protection Board have reached out to some folks, and Greg Groves of Canvas had expressed interest and willingness to serve on the board, and multiple of them reached out to me and said that's who they'd like to see if possible. And I really don't have any other recommendations unless you want. So this is Chris's brother, Brooks' son.
What's the first name again?
Greg Groves. He's a teacher in the school system and cuts about 90% of the hay in Kansas. Still has a farm out at the end of the day.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And that motion's to nominate or to appoint the Farmland Protection recommendation of Greg Groves of Canvas. And I have his contact information you have there. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, the motion does carry. That being said, that is all for the motions for this morning. And so now it is 9:10 a.m. We have the estate of Lloyd Wallace Connor Jr. This is regarding the altered will discussion or acceptance of it. Okay.
No, we do have.
And we'll
call
take a quick
first.
recess to get that set. All right, now we're back again with the estate of Lloyd Wallace Connor Jr. with the altered will discussion or acceptance thereof. We do have Mr. Tim Sleeth with us by teleconference. We have, what's your first name, sir? I'm sorry. Gerlando Scott.
Yes, sir.
And then also your names, please, for the record.
Dennis Lips.
Okay.
His wife Cheryl.
Okay, so that being said, concerning the matter before us here this morning, any and all that would like to speak before this commission this morning, including Tim, we're going to go by the honor system. If you would please just raise your right hands.
Okay.
Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm that in the matter now in hearing, your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I will.
All right. Betty, if you don't mind to
Okay.
kick this one off.
So Lloyd Connor Jr. Will is presented to us on 7/21 this year by Mr. Scott. The original will, which we have right here, and I made you all copies, had been altered at the bottom. Mr. Scott did convey that it was his handwriting correctly, is that right? Mr.
My
Morris?
handwriting, yeah.
And that Mr. Connor had initialed it. So we were coming before the county commission to see if, because the will had been altered, that you would accept the will without that or accept it with the altered state.
Okay, and Mr. Scott, was there a certain reason why this was done the way it was, handwritten and initialed, rather than perhaps sent back to an attorney to correct it?
I had spoke with Mr. Connor Lloyd in his hospital bed in Beckley, and he asked if I would prepare a will for him and get something done as quickly as possible. This was kind of on the weekend, it wasn't. So this was a will just taken from a computer disk, and I wrote it and typed it out and had it all prepared, and so I gave it to Lloyd to read over there in his hospital bed, and Lloyd was pretty bad off. I knew he wasn't going to last long, and so as he read over it, he made the statement that he wished that Tim Sleets, his nephew, would receive all his fishing equipment. So I had that in mind, and it wasn't long after our conversation where Dennis and Cheryl walked in to visit him as well at the hospital. And then he said, and I wanted Dennis to get all my mechanics tools. So as opposed to going home and taking the chance, and Lloyd was not really able to write it, I scribbled it on the back of a file as I sit there and tried to print it out the best I could on the back of a file in the hospital bed, beside the hospital bed, and then give it back to Lloyd and had him initial it, but he had not signed it at that time, just quite yet, but he getting around to signing it shortly thereafter. But that way he could read it all over and say it was okay to do it. So that was kind of the way it was. Lloyd used to help me in a lot of auctions. And just like Bob Stanley's house right across over here on the hill, we did that one. And of course I had bought a tract of ground off of Tracy Hilton and out in Tioga where the largest seam of coal, I believe, was ever taken out of the state. But at any rate, I later auctioned that and sold it to Mr. Falvin. And so I'm not too strange to the auction business. I did it 2 weeks ago for ex-commissioner Hudson Heller, did her estate auction for her 2 sons, and then last weekend I had another estate auction for Breckenridge. And we do these. I am a certified estate specialist in the auction field and do a lot of auctions right along. So Lloyd had asked me if I would take care of his bills, which are going to be quite extensive, and he does have a few assets, I just might point out. But he owes most on every one of them. He bought a new tractor a couple years ago, and we've been keeping the payments. Dennis has helped me with that, keeping the payments caught up on it. And we have, he bought a side-by-side Honda Pioneer 1000, and he still owes on it. So what we're proposing to do is try to take what assets he has. Probably the house would be in the best interest not to sell it at this time because when they put the pipeline out through there, he lost his water, so his house has no water. It would probably be better if we extended that out. I think they're talking about having that out there by Thanksgiving at this point, if it happens, the water line extension.
They promised us by the end of September we got water.
That's their neighbors. And so I think it would be best to wait until we had running water at the house and try to sell the 5 acres in the house. Now, it's not a lot. Lloyd didn't have a lot, so it's not a big estate by any stretch of the imagination. But what we have, we try to pay what bills we do and present the rest back to you is all we propose at this point.
And then, Mr. Sleeth, do you have anything to add to that or any commentary on this?
No, sir, all I'm concerned with is I want, this week is what I want, a full week. I want his bills paid, his estate settled. I want Laramie, I don't want Laramie, his half-brother, I don't want him left out. I want him to make sure he gets what's coming to him. If there's anything left to come to him, and if the house needs to be sold, sell the house, sell the property, pay the bills. Make sure that anything that Mr. Scott is owed is paid back to him, and make sure Dennis gets what Lloyd wants him to have.
Well, Laramie's mentioned in the handwritten section here, where he is added to the will and testament. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, and that is the only thing we're in here for, is not, it's
Yeah.
just the handwritten. That's the only issue we're doing with.
And that was something else that Lloyd kind of brought out too, was that if we got enough money to settle everything, then he wanted them to wind up with the place or be able to at least have the option to pay off the rest of the indebtedness to own the place. And if Laramie could not afford it, then give Tim the opportunity to afford it as opposed to selling it. I don't know that's going to be the case. I know there's a lot of bills. He was in the hospital for 2 to 3 months. So with a lot of cancer treatments in between. So I know the bills are piled up, but we will do our very best to do what we can.
What's before you is whether this is a valid will or not.
Yeah.
You know, and all those other issues can be addressed at some point as the estate progresses. This is not how you do a will, frankly. I mean, I have an issue with it from a legal standpoint. It's not a holographic will because it's not in the decedent's handwriting, so it doesn't qualify as a holographic will. What we did in the past, and I don't really like doing this because I like to try to settle things here for everybody's benefit while we can, is to refer to a fiduciary commissioner and let him take evidence and make a recommendation. Whether it's a valid, I mean, the question is whether it's a valid will or not a valid will. Whether he died intestate or without, or with a will. This was signed in the hospital room.
Yes, it was.
Was there any kind of test or anything administered to Mr. Connor to make sure he was competent to sign it? Because I've been in a situation like this, and there was tests given for that before they would allow the person to sign it. And it looks like the witnesses are related to you.
Yes, they did. Son and wife. That's who was there. Dennis showed up there too. I think Dennis and Cheryl would probably tell you that he was probably of sound mind.
Yeah.
He wasn't slurring or bad.
At that particular time, he still knew everything.
He was alert and he was oriented. He was not under the influence of anything at all. We could tell him, we go back many years with his mind was stable.
Is there any other heirs that aren't listed in here, any children or anything? That's the question. They would have the right to contest it.
I can tell you that the answer is no to that. He did have a son born in infancy, of which he infant son up in Ripley. And White's Funeral Home, I paid them to take his body up there and have the funeral, and that's all been paid. For Mr. Connor, it was his last wishes that he be buried beside his infant son. He had a half-brother, and he had this nephew, and as far as I know, that is all.
What do you think? Has half-brother been notified? If he died intestate, it would go.
Is that the half-brother, Mr. Rouse?
No, he was the
Larry?
half-brother. No, he was not. He's not in the will.
His half-brother, Laramie Rouse, is the one in the will.
Oh, okay,
And
this guy.
and he has been notified. He was at the funeral. He was very nice all the way through and wished me to handle it for him. But there may be an insurance policy, and Lloyd had mentioned that to me once or twice about an insurance policy up where Laramie was the beneficiary of that life insurance policy. I haven't gone back in the house and looked for it. Dennis has been in the house, his neighbor's house, he kind of kept an eye on things, and he'll tell you that it is going to be a nightmare trying to find anything in that house because there's basically a path that you can kind of get through as a elderly gentleman would have. So we have not found that, or haven't looked for it either, the life insurance policy. And I don't know where it was through. I think it was probably, I think they worked at Alcodia Aluminum up in Ravenswood or something. It may stem from that. I'm not sure.
I would recommend it be referred to the Fishery Commission.
I'd like to make a motion that we refer to for this year.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry. So you can get them for this year, you can get them connected and everything, right? Okay. Thank you all for coming in.
In progress.
All right. We're joined this morning by Mrs. Rhonda White of the Old Main Foundation with estimates and updates on treatment of the floor in the hallway. And also, remind me your names one more time for the
Alex
record.
Rose and Dreamer Rose.
So we got Alvin and Dreamer Rose also, and you're both board members as well, right? Yes. Very good. Glad to have you all this morning. So Rhonda, if you'd like to present.
Thank you very much. Dreamer is going to hand to you some updated proposals that we have gotten for repair of the basement floor. The basement floor was in very bad condition, had holes that were tripping hazard right in front of the bathrooms and so forth. We have spent the money to, raised and spent the money to repair that floor. It has been ground down and is ready for the next thing. Actually, I'm a little bit disappointed in the results, so we decided to go to a bid process for the next phase of it. And what happened there is you've got two bids in your hand. One was from the person who did the first part, the grinding down of the concrete and the repair of the concrete. Then we need now a new phase, which is to seal the floor, put down a moisture barrier, and then put down a flake barrier, which contains color, and then two clear coats on top of that, and if we choose, an emblem on top of that. What I did is, we could find no contractor in Nicholas County, which was our goal, that did this specialty work. So the next step was to find a contractor in West Virginia. that did this specialty work. And I contacted Garage Kings. They're actually in Charlotte, but do the work in Ohio, Virginia, and so forth. They were very helpful in giving me information and educating me about exactly what I needed to ask for and so forth. But they do not work in West Virginia. The next step, I contracted Viking Brothers in Parkersburg. They do only the epoxy work on concrete floors, and he was very helpful. He did give me a bid. The bid for just the basic 4 layers from him is $16,000. It's only a verbal bid, but he gave that to me. Then I contacted Maverick Construction. They're in Morgantown. A man named Vince Patowski actually came down, looked at the floor, looked at the problem, and measured it. Vince advised us that the grinding was not complete nor acceptable for this kind of floor. So the top layer has to be redone. The problem is not all the paint that was on there is ground off. And the epoxy will not, the moisture barrier will not adhere to that kind of surface. And so he advised that we do further grinding, get rid of all that paint, and then grind the concrete floor that is exposed to the exact same consistency, which it is not now at the exact same consistency. So what you see in front of you is the bid from Maverick Construction. They're going to come in with gigantic vacuums, grind that yet again, get it smooth, consistent, get the paint off. And they have gigantic vacuums where there will be no dust in the building. We had a terrible cleanup problem after the first concrete work was done. He assured us that it is so well vacuumed that even his workers do not have to wear masks. And then he will put down a moisture barrier. That's the most expensive part. The material that we've chosen for that is $500 for 3 gallons. And there was a difference from the bid that we got from Schaefer and Patowski about how long it would take it to cure. A major difference. One said 2 hours, the other one said 28 days. So I actually called the manufacturer of the product to ask them about how long it would take to cure, when we could have access to it, and how long it would last, all those types of questions. So, and then above that will be a flake layer that actually contains the color, and we have choices of thousands of colors, but the board chose a color last night. It's called garnet, but it looks very much like a granite with that. Then there will be 2 coats of a clear, they called it polyaspheric. And this is a company that does only this type of work. They do fire stations where the fire trucks come in and drive on it. They do a lot of church basements. They do dog kennels where the dogs may be urinating on the product all day, and yet it lasts through all that kind of wear and tear. So we have, you've got a third bid. Mr. Petrowski's bid is $16,000, and that's the one the board has chosen. The third bid that you see in front of you is for $21,000 plus. And because of the difference in application, we have chosen the company. He's a general contractor, and does other things than just floor. We have decided to choose the contractor that does only this type of flooring. They work all over the state of West Virginia. They will move in at 5 o'clock on a Friday night. They will be done within 2 days. He said, we don't work by the clock and we don't work by the calendar. Our men come in, do the job, and we leave as quickly as possible, probably 2 or 3 days. The basic cost of the chosen contractor is $16,000 to grind it down and do those 4 layers of work. Then there is an extra charge for a different color. The board has decided we can't afford that extra color, so we're going with the color where there's no additional charge. Also, there is an extra charge if we want to put an emblem, and that's an $800 add-on. The board wants that, but we're not in total agreement yet about what the design should be. But we had the choice of putting it below the 2 clear coats, and it would be absolutely permanent. You could not get it up. Even to get it up, you had to tear the floor up. The second choice was to put it above the clear coats. It will be very substantial there. It won't peel off. It won't wear. But it could be removed if for any reason the building changed hands and so that they wanted to change that. It could be done without tearing up the floor. So what I'm asking the commission to do is to handle all or some of the $16,000. We do have that amount of money in our budget right now, but it's our operating budget. And if we spend it, we need to replace it with fundraising.
Are you completely sold on the epoxy?
On the epoxy, if you know a better application, I would like to hear it, but I have talked to all 4 of these companies, 3 of which do only epoxy.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is, you're talking about just at the bottom of the stairs, that area, the hallway going to the bathrooms and the hallway out the door. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Why don't you go with a tile, like a floating floor, that'll cost you probably less than a quarter of this?
Well, that has not been considered, and I haven't educated myself in order to advise the board about that. Our main concern right now is 2. One is getting, excuse me, I'm sorry. One is to getting a rather permanent and effective moisture barrier.
Which
And
is a
then
big
the
cost.
second is the aesthetics. And we want it long-term so that we never have to do it again. And
I suggest you go down to our new 911 center and look at that. Matter of fact, go over there. We put some over there. And it looks like wood. You wouldn't even know it wasn't a hardwood floor. And it is a totally floating floor. It's made out of basically plastics and vinyl. And you don't need a moisture barrier because it can't affect it at all. And you should be able to do that for $7,000, probably, or less. I would say less.
I'm certainly willing and happy to explore that. And if I can convince the board it's just as good of an application, we would consider.
Probably better in the long run because I don't think your moisture barrier is going to fix your problem. And then your epoxy is going to flake off.
Well, he did say the top is guaranteed. The bottom, the
Exactly.
moisture barrier,
Because he
was
doesn't know what's down
guaranteed
there.
for 50 gallons of water per so many square feet. It's not a
50 pounds.
100% guarantee, for sure.
50 pounds of pressure.
Yes.
But my suggestion is that, look at it, and you can do that locally, a lot cheaper. And this is too much money for what you want. And I can promise you this commission's not gonna give you $16,000 for this, because we don't recommend it. You know, we had somebody in here wanting a gym floor, they wanted us, and they were gonna fix the roof, so it was gonna leak on the new gym floor. I don't think you're gonna fix the moisture problem like you think you are. And the reason I can tell you that, I deal with this every day. So, you really need to look at another type of covering, floor covering, rather than the box. It's too expensive for what it is.
Commissioner Chapman, would you be so kind as to give us names of contractors that do that application? And if we could, Nicholas County contractors. That would be a big help to us.
You don't need a contractor, you just need a flooring contractor.
A flooring,
Yes.
I didn't hear.
Yes, you need to find the local carpet and floor store and go to them and see and let them give you an estimate.
Okay, well, we will do that.
And that will, I think you'll be really surprised at the price of the look, but if you'll go,
Can we take a break
If you'll-
and walk over there? Is that any-
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's take a 5-minute recess. Okay, our recess is back. Mr. Chapman and Old Main looked over that floor. What my recommendation would be, and I can relay this to Rhonda, where she didn't come back, is give 2 meeting periods. So that would be
among many others.
August 16th. Give them time. They don't have to run bids for 2 weeks. They should be able to find some flooring contractors where they can give them some bids. And then take them up and make a decision.
She said Friday they were going
They were gonna do what?
to, out Friday they were going
Okay, well, if they can do it next meeting period, even better. But, you know, just, you know, this has been an issue ongoing since before Commissioner Roberts was a commissioner, so I would like to bring some closure to this if at all possible. That being said, we're a few moments late, and we apologize, but we have now with us Cassandra Lawson, the Senior Project Specialist at Region 4 Planning and Development Council. We have a discussion here this morning concerning Hinkle Mountain Little Laurel Water Extension Project. This is resolution number 16, and Birch River PSD Generator Project, resolution number 10.
Yep. So on the subject of Hinkle Mountain, as noted, this is resolution number 16. On this resolution, there are payments to contractors for contracts 1, 2, and 4, as well as the city's engineer and Region 4 Planning and Development Council. I'll just give you summaries if you want, and then you can review this if you'd like for more detailed information. The request from the commission today is in the amount of $23,632.59, and that will be applied to construction contract 1. The overall total of all of the invoices combined is $357,702.94. The remainder of the funds will be requested from the Infrastructure Jobs and Development Council grant, the Drinking Water Treatment Revolving Fund loan, and the WDA Economic Enhancement Grant funds. And at current, the Little Laurel Water Extension is 77% complete. Hinkle Mountain is 76% complete. The Hinkle Mountain tank is 60% complete, and the water plant is only 35% complete. So Little Laurel is anticipated to reach substantial completion on July the 16th. With us having surpassed that date, we anticipate that they will file a time extension request. Hinkle Mountain is still projected to reach substantial completion on August the 26th. The tank on August the 15th, which we may very well also see an extension of that given it's only at a 60% completion. And the plant is anticipated to reach substantial completion on October 17th.
Now, when you say complete, that's substantial completion, that's pressurized, tested, is water in the line at that point and people can start tapping in, or does it gotta be that's to the point they can start tapping in.
I would say generally that's substantial completion. And then you have, just punch list work, little things that maybe a yard needs repair, that sort of thing. I can confirm that just to make sure I'm not mistaken though. But I would
By the
say,
end of the year, you suspect they'll have water in
yes,
their homes?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on resolution number 16 as presented. Motion's on the floor, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Was that for or against? For, okay. The motion does carry. We have again the Birch River PSD generator project, resolution number 2.
Resolution number 2 is in the amount of $7,973.80, of which $7,500 is for engineering design and $473.80 is reimbursement to the Birch River PSD for the fees they incurred in advertising the legal ad required for bidding. 75% of the funds will be requested FEMA, that will come directly to the county commission. The remaining 25% will be requested from the Birch River PSD to the infrastructure council. And the generators have been ordered, the contract has been awarded, that sort of thing, but there's a really long lead time on the generators. I'm not 100% sure of the exact date, but it could maybe be like a year. So,
That sounds right.
yeah.
It's Craigslist.
We are awaiting one final piece of information. We have to have an elevation certificate that confirms that the installed generator is out of the floodplain, and that is the only thing that we are waiting on, and then we can close that out. But all the installation is done. And with Craigsville, just a side note, when the water plant is moved out of the floodplain with their big project, that generator will go with it.
So that's the generator.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to do the resolution number 2.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, the motion does carry.
And I've only got one page for you to sign today, so this was rather painless.
Very good.
And on the first one, Cassie, on the broadband.
That's gonna be the Menji group. Yep, it'll be Menji.
Okay.
And the city won't actually see this to approve it until tomorrow. So if you wanna wait, and I'll touch base with you Friday, just to make sure that, the resolution is approved as a whole.
Okay, and you'll forward that to me.
Yep. And then we can, once the check's cut, we can see if Menji wants to pick it up in person or,
Okay.
yeah. Is there any other project-related stuff you guys have?
What was, Mayor Johnson talking about the other day?
Generator projects.
Have they contacted you about generator?
Well,
We've already been through that, right?
so that grant was awarded, and then Bridgewood was placed on a suspension for FEMA. That suspension has been lifted. So I talked to our contact at the West Virginia Emergency Management Division, and he said they're going to assign like a new project manager potentially to all of those Ridgewood projects. And as soon as they have that person lined out, they'll be in touch with us and the city to talk about how to move forward. My concern with their generator project in particular is just, it was funded so long ago, I'm sure the cost has increased. So I'm sure there will need to be a request to be up with the additional money. The other thing is too, just like we've done for Birch River and Craigsville, we'll have to demonstrate there's not a ability for the local community to match,
Right.
to provide that 25%. And then the state will have to come up with that 25.
Does that mean that there are funds on hold right now? When you said they were put on suspension, there are funds on hold and then we just have to get the additional?
Yes.
That's a good thing. It would speed it up a little bit, right? So if they just open up and release.
With that program, sometimes what they have to do is like for Craigsville, for instance, when it closes out, whatever funds are left, they'll recapture. Sometimes if all of their funds are obligated, they have to wait for projects to close out
Gotcha.
before they can reapply them to other projects.
Replenish the pot.
So it just kind of depends on the timing. what's on their docket.
But that's better than starting from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what
Oh,
I
yeah,
make
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much.
See you guys later.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Have fun.
Hope you guys stay dry on Saturday.
Yeah.
Did I get one?
You made it.
Yes, I did.
All right, now we're at the commission's request. We have a discussion again regarding the Stave Mill assistance in Calhoun.
The mayor of Summersville and I went and did a site visit, discussed with the owners what they needed. The city's now has kind of got involved in the form of James, which is over there, water department, is that?
Superintendent.
Superintendent. He's trying to work with the guy to get some new pricing, because he feels he can save him several $1,000. So they want to be open by October. This project will prevent that from happening if we don't get it done. But what we're looking at now is there's a big reservoir pond that's there on the property, and we're looking at pumping out of that. So we have to get a pump, build a pump house, and then plug that into the fire suppression system. So we are just waiting on some pricing to come back on that to see. The owner called me yesterday, wasn't able to get to the phone, called him back today. He must be out of cell services because I answered, but no one's there. So that's where we are. The new equipment is waiting to be put in. The building is completely cleaned out. When we were there, that building's completely cleaned out and ready for the new equipment to be installed. They're putting about a $6 million investment in there. Where we're at right now is that it's a city, and what we've talked about with them is the city's willing to go up to as much as $50,000 on this project with some guarantees that they will have these jobs created and be there at least 10 years. And probably Mr. Tucker will be writing up the contracts for that for the city. And to me, I'd like to follow the same suit with the guarantees of what money's worth. And otherwise, I would request that we put up to $200,000 into this and take it from the money that we dedicated already to the visitor center, which was $800,000, drop that back to $600,000, and utilize that money to help in this program.
I was kind of hoping someone from the Stave Mill is going to be here, because I've got a lot of resistance from inside this courthouse and in the community of why a business does not plan to have their own fire suppression built in their project. And I know that's unfair for us to really get too far into without a representative here. But there's a lot of people struggling with, why is this the county's responsibility? Frankly.
I guess it's not really the county's responsibility, but if you look at it from what we're collecting in taxes on that piece of property right now versus what we're going to collect once the equipment's in place and things like that, they're going to pay us back. They did not have this in their original plans in their funding, but they had a meal that burnt, and so now they just want to open one without fire suppression.
And that's $6 million of equipment? Okay. Because what I'd like to even do is, with the numbers out with James and different things, I'd like to table this at least one meeting and talk to the assessor on how much actual tax revenue we'll receive off of that too. I tried to call him yesterday, I couldn't get hold of him.
So the contract that you're talking about, would that be, if they breach the contract, like let's say they agreed to 10 or 10 years, and they go out in 8, they would have to fully reimburse, or it'd be on like a prorated plan? How does that work?
It comes up with your terms, I mean.
Or what would be the desired goal, I guess is what I'm asking.
If they're there for 3 years and they don't do it, we just take it back and sell it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like a mechanic's lien on the personal property of the business? or-
Well, I'm not sure because this is my first involvement.
Right,
So,
Understood. Just trying to have an ad hoc
I
discussion.
don't know what the mayor's conditions are.
Would they consider a loan with favorable terms?
Probably.
Because that might be something we can partner up with the building commission.
The main thing is the speed, the quickness, and I think what the mayor's point of view was, he's willing to do it as a loan type thing.
Yeah.
But if they're there for 1 year, they pay 1 year. You see what I'm
Right,
saying? Yeah.
Forgive it in increments.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. And then after 10 years, if they're still, it's all theirs. But this will be a separate type thing of what we're funding. They are putting 100-some thousand in of their money on top of this.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
bill is, it's
I thought
not,
the
we're not
250 was
funding
the full
everything.
project, okay.
So that's why we're trying to get all the numbers right now to see.
And then I think, Gary, you asked before, but I forgot. Is there a reusability should this
Yeah.
park
we
actually
talked
be
about it last
developed?
time. So like, let's say there's a pump and a filter system that come out of that pond and pump into that one building. Would that be able to be reused in the grand scheme if that's developed into a business park? To assist in the city
It
water coming
probably
in?
would, because the thing about it is you gotta look at that pond like a holding tank.
Uh-huh.
So if you got a holding tank that holds 60,000, that's what they need, is a 60,000 gallon tank. So what it could do is actually fill another tank, let's say something else went in, they could put the tank in, something like that.
That way it'd be a broader
But-
impact.
But the pond is, and there is some engineering going on that. It looks like it holds about 175,000 gallons right now.
Right.
So it's 3 times what's needed. We're
So you
working
build
with
it
the
2 more
DEP, make sure that there's not an issue with pulling out of the pond, things like that. We did check there's no mining permits or anything on that particular property. It's all been fully released. So that's where it is. So.
Do you mind if I interject one comment in regard to the future build-out of that site? So we've talked with New River Gorge Regional Development Authority a little bit, and if a full tank were needed to feed, both the mill and additional industrial business on the site, EDA may be a really good funding source to help actually pay for something like that. And they actually helped to fund the water line that feeds the Great Barrel Factory location in White Sulphur Springs, which were successful in leveraging their funds for that project. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there, that there may be some opportunity as far as federal funding goes, if that build out continues, just because of the job creation and economic
Right.
impact. But as Commissioner Chapman mentioned, an EDA application, how long those applications and awards make, there's just not enough time to do something like that to get the state in operation by October.
Yeah, it delayed this whole operation up to 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm looking at is if we buy this and then in a year they move forward with a future development, that we didn't just make an investment, now it's just sitting there. We can reutilize it, sell it, do something or another and show that that's not just, dead on the vine at that point, long term. Something can be done. And then have a more global impact. We were able to use that to fill a tank instead of a building or whatever the case is, however that worked, that we could show that it was used in the whole park, if that grows.
And the tank situation, what we're looking at right now is not having the tank.
Right.
It would just come right out of the pond, right into their system. So it's a tremendous savings right there.
So your recommendation, Garrett, is we gather up some more financials and make a decision.
Well, yeah, and we might even just have a work session with the city.
Right. That way everybody's on the same page.
Right, I mean,
You should involve the building commission also.
Do we need a motion on that?
I mean, you can have unanimous consent if that's acceptable.
Table it till we get more information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we agree, you want to make that motion?
Yeah, so moved.
Unanimous consent? Real quick. All right, I got to call Director McGinnis in for this next one.
Ran back up just one quick question, if now's not a good time, that's fine. But on the subject of Richwood, they met with some representatives from DEP yesterday. DEP's gonna have some special funding available potentially, and they were asking about the ATV, or running around this kind of
Okay.
initiative that was, being pursued several years ago. So I was just curious if, I think you were involved with that.
So the situation with that is they passed a bill and put Nicholas County in the Hatfield-McCoy trail system. So until that board's willing to put a trail system in Nicholas County, we're stuck.
So it's still in the lap of, it didn't allow the creation of a new, it
You
just
cannot
added that
have
to their jurisdiction.
a separate independent trail authority.
The last meeting I went to, they said they wouldn't, I guess there's like a loophole that works against us. They didn't want to create a trail system unless it linked to the Hatfield-McCoy Trail.
Yeah.
And the Hatfield-McCoy Trail won't build out unless it links into something. So it's almost like double dooming.
Hatfield-McCoy will not build out unless
Right.
it links back to the Southern coal fields where all the money's being drawn to right now.
Understood.
Okay.
Versus people putting money in this community and driving down there.
Right.
On the trail.
Understood. So it was like with Ray Mahler and him a few years ago. I think I went to a meeting over at City Hall.
I have a book somewhere. I mean, they did an extended amount of work.
So what-
And then all of a sudden, Senator Carnes passes a bill, puts us in Hatfield-McCoy anyway.
Okay, so we can't go out on our own and just create, because I know they talked about a
Cannot.
rimfire trail system or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
Fire Trails.
So that would be a Senate,
It takes legislation.
Your local delegate could probably handle something through the House to do that. in the
absolutely,
next-
that's.
We need to be,
good,
I mean, they put in, I think every county that was gonna be in rimfire, don't hold me to this, I think they put in Hatfield-McCoy.
So it was like Braxton, Nicholas, Greenbrier, Fayette, maybe Clay.
I don't think Fayette, but maybe.
There's 7 counties, I think, wasn't it? That went
I
to
remember
several-
Clay, Braxton, Webster, and a little bit of Pocahontas and Nicholas, so there's at least 5.
Yep. That went to a meeting here.
But yeah, that is something we're gonna have to try and push some legislation through. That might be something we need to talk with
So could we
Vince and
draft
Heather about.
an official letter and send it to
Resolution.
both? Yes, send it to both of our delegates and maybe both of our senators as well. I mean, would that be, that'd start, right?
Yes.
I think that'd be good. And I can probably work on that, I just need a little bit of time to refresh myself on that section
So
of
would we want to
code.
opt out of Hatfield-McCoy, or would we want to opt out and then also identify the fact that we would like to create our own?
And if you opt out, you can do whatever you want, unless I'm mistaken what I find in
Right.
code. But I mean,
I just want to make sure that we don't get caught, with something else out there. It's like, well, you opt out, you still can't do anything. You know what I mean? That we actually move forward and have that freedom and flexibility as well.
we were supposed to get a board seat, never got one.
That's how you, do. I mean, that's just, it's a drafting issue,
Right.
how you draft your bill.
And the biggest problem with Richwood, what killed it, was when West Vaco sold out to,
Plum Creek,
well.
and now Weyerhaeuser's even worse.
Warehouse.
You can't deal with warehouse.
You can't deal with warehouse.
That's very true. And I have no idea, if this money will come to fruition, if it could even be used for that they had asked. And I just couldn't remember, it was a really hot topic for a long time. And just couldn't quite recall how it all went down.
Would there be an option to use that in rail trail or water trail?
Potentially, so I don't know that much about the program. I don't have any documentation on it or anything.
Right.
EPA's pushing environmental justice. And that includes like displaced communities because of like the food desert and, unemployment and that sort of thing. It qualifies for Richwood.
Because I was with John last week with that waterways convention that we had up there. And everybody seemed to, the DEP, DNR, and all those, they seemed to be on board with everything that was going on. I didn't hear any opposition of anybody.
Was Army Corps there?
Yes.
And those we didn't talk about a water trail, but those were like the main subjects of conversation were, as far as like economy, like the Tri River Rail Trail, the ATV trail came up, and then they also talked about possible funding for blight, for demolition of blight, remaining blight.
Yes.
Those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be good.
they seemed interested in it, and they kind of brought it forward.
Yeah, definitely love to keep those financial resources local, do what we can with them.
Yep. That's
I'll
it.
get with Gary, and between the two of us, I think we'll look up that code.
Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, it's gonna take at least some sort of legislation, right, to
And then
change anything.
Doesn't the legislation actually like allow the Hatfield and McCoy, like what do you call that? What is it called? Like that organization?
Alliance or whatever.
Trail
Yeah.
Authority?
Trail Authority.
Yeah,
So if
so you might have to do the same for this system.
yeah, so if you remove yourself from that, would there have to be new legislation
That's what I was
allowing the
getting at,
yes.
change?
Yeah.
Encompass that all in one, you know,
Yeah.
one motion or one transaction.
The person that knows the most about it is your boss, because he talked to me in detail about the trails, and he said, you come up the land, I'll put in the trail. So apparently he has it
Okay.
inside.
Okay, I will pick his brain. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you again, Cassie.
Okay, we have now a discussion on the Homeland Center generator. We do have Director John McGinnis of Nicholas County Homeland Security and Emergency Management by phone. Ran into a situation with the building of the 911 center with the myriad of federal regulations on this. We have to have an operating generator on site. Unfortunately, a generator was purchased 2012, 2010, the generator for the 911 center.
Probably.
So 10 plus years ago, something like that, somewhere in there. And it has essentially divulged into a paperweight. There's been multiple mechanics attempt to reconstruct that engine, and it's just not going to happen. And so unfortunately, we're going to have to look elsewhere. Director McGinnis has went out and received quotes and bids. Director, if it's okay, I'll read these off and then I'll have you speak to them if that's okay, just with you being on the phone.
Yes, sir.
There's a generator for sale. What's the spec on these first?
They're all 200 kW, which is sufficient to meet code for the 911 center.
Okay. So these are all the adequate size generator. They're all operational. Am I correct in saying these are all used units that
Yes, sir.
are coming from largely rental businesses?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have one that is from United Rental. It's a 2014 model that is $29,750. We have a 2007 model from Machino for $39,000. And Woodstock Company is a 1998 for $16,500. These are used units that Director McGinnis has collected, but as we heard a moment ago with Ms. Lawson, there's a 1 year waiting period for certain size generators, and also a brand new one is $72,044. And so Director McGinnis, if you'd like to expand on those figures, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. I've reached out to all three companies.
Can you hold your own?
The lowest bid is Woodstock. It's 16.3. However, I am a little concerned about that because of the age and the hours on that machine, being a 1998. The one from Machino and United Rentals, both of those have been serviced and are available to pick up within the week if we choose to do so. The one it's from United, like I said, it's in stock and was just serviced last week. It's available in Columbus, Ohio.
How many hours are on that one, please?
The one from United, hold on 1 second, sir. Took the email here. The one from United has 258 hours on it.
Okay.
And let me switch back over to the Machino.
And the Machino, I'm honestly not interested in the Woodstock, just to be honest with you, so
Right,
if you want to
yes,
see the
I
Machino.
agree.
What was the price on the United?
United, is $29,750. Machino, $39,000 even. And Woodstock is $16,500.
Scroll down the ranks over here.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, it's more money. I mean, is it,
It's, 322.
that's still low hours.
Yes, yeah, both of them, so yes.
What is,
It's all pretty low hours, you know?
yeah,
I think they run a lot though. They
Which they
probably run an
probably
hour a
sit.
week to,
Usually a rental.
you think
Yeah,
it'd
the
be up?
United Rental one's in Columbus, Ohio, and the Machino one is in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Okay.
Who are they made by?
Yeah, what brand is United and Machino?
Yes, the Machino is let me see if I can punch it up. A Kohler, Kohler.
Okay,
And go back to the get back to the United ones. It is a Cummins.
I think either one would be a good brand, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I'll probably take the company.
yep. That's what I was gonna say.
Well, yeah, price wise and everything.
Yeah, so,
Good.
That's true.
And then the mowing world.
I would like to,
Not bad.
Yeah, it's good
make
gas.
sure, if possible, that we buy the Cummins from United due to the good service and everything that we've had out of Cummins machines.
Easier to get parts for too.
Yeah. Well, it's not the lowest price, but it's the best price of the desirable units. I mean, you know.
That's what the other.
Yeah, with the whole price one, I'm just scared because of the hours and the year of it.
I still think it's worth it. Okay.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, even then, I mean, that's a savings of, roughly $42,000.
Yes, sir, I agree.
I would stand by Director McGinnis's recommendation for that United unit. Is it currently trailered? Is it?
Yes, sir, it's mobile and
Okay.
on wheels, and we do get the trailer along with that price as well too.
Okay. Okay.
So I could, you know, if we choose to get that, I could go up Monday or Tuesday next week and pick it up.
I'll make that.
Sounds good. That motion's on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Now, this generator, we get it in place and get it built. I mean, I know that's gonna take a little bit of time. Are there any other major things we need to look at to get, okay, okay. Okay. We definitely want to get rocking and rolling in our new building. Commissioner Chapman made the motion. And that being said, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry. Thank you, Director McGinnis.
One other note on that, sir, if you can real quick.
Okay,
Crusader Generator Company that does our services and stuff, said once we get the new one installed, they would help us, work the other one out where we can get it sold to replenish some of the money as well.
okay. Or take a good look at it, because I mean, you know, there might be a chance it's salvageable
Yes.
still, I mean, you know. But they would know, they can figure that out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, hey, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
All right, bye-bye.
Betty.
That being said, yeah, we'll take a quick recess now if you'll go collect the.
We're now here on the estate of Lee Allen Horrocks. This is Matthew Horrocks requesting removal of the executrix. Matthew, if you don't mind, please raise your right hand. And do you solemnly swear or affirm that in the matter now in hearing that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. And then, Ms. Betty, if you'd like to
Okay.
begin this one as well.
Yeah, so Matthew Horrocks has given us notice that he would like to have Leanne Horrocks removed from the estate, that he believes that she's been, mishandling the estate funds. Ms. Horrocks got appointed on 3/28 of '22. She has been, she has done everything that she needs to do except close the estate. And at this time, she cannot close the estate because there are claims. There are a few that she has taken care of. She has one for United Bank that was $25,071.51, and she has paid a Wilderness Fire for $717. There are two that's still pending, one being over $70,000. So, if the estate doesn't have it, it means that they would have to sell the real estate, or if there's a loan at the bank, it would go back to the bank. But so I don't know what, her position is on that, because I haven't talked to her, and she's not here today. So Matthew is here, and I guess he can, he says he's got evidence as to her mishandling this, and I guess he can explain a little more about that.
Okay, full yours.
I have a bank statement from a joint bank account here. On pages 1, 2, and 15, there are deposits from the estate into the joint account, and I have the photographs of these checks that Leanna has written and deposited into these accounts. I have a separate page here where I asked her if the estate had been closed and if that's why she had removed the money out of the estate. And she apologized and said she was desperate for this money. And from my understanding, if there's claims against the estate, she cannot be using this for her personal account there. If you'd like to approach here.
Thank you.
The joint account was a personal account.
It was, we had, when my father passed away, we had made a joint account so we could help pay. We had lived together at this point, and we were using it to pay bills.
So you're saying she was putting it in this joint account and spending off of it?
Yes.
John says inspection widget there. What really authority does the commission have on something like this?
Well, I haven't seen the evidence, but if she's mishandling funds, you could remove her, and then appoint a sheriff. And maybe the thing to do is, since she's not here, give her one opportunity to show up at the next meeting, and if not, she obviously doesn't oppose the motion, and then remove her.
She resides in Greensboro,
She does.
and you?
Mount Nebo.
Okay. See the purchases, that's where they want.
Free slip?
Yeah.
You're good?
Oh,
Can we do that in the same motion? Motion to remove unless,
No, well, you could just table it to the next meeting, and give her the opportunity to appear and explain what happened, and if she doesn't, or if she doesn't have an explanation, you have the ability to remove.
And then that would be August 2nd, 2 weeks, plenty of time to give that
Yeah, we'll
notice.
get yours, sure. And if she doesn't appear, then we'll just.
Somebody make a motion.
Yeah, I'll just bring it
How do
up.
they prevent this from happening further? Can the account be locked or seized, or it's just nothing to be done?
Not till you remove the.
Not to, yeah, she has authority.
The sheriff will take care of anything that was misappropriated once he
What,
gets.
what were the dates on those I paid attention? Is that recently?
There are,
7/6, 23, 7/3 of 23, 5/25.
And you only know of the money going into that account,
yes,
so you don't have access to the main account.
I do not.
So you could watch the balance, understood.
No, this joint account has been closed.
I mean, your other option is if you feel comfortable, you could do it today. If you would rather.
I have current messages from my sister where she says that she's done with the estate. This is after she received her notice. She says she wasn't going to appear today. I don't know if I'm able to show you messages from her through my phone here. I don't have those printed off.
If you remove her today, that still wouldn't deny her access to that account.
Yeah, she still has papers and.
How does that take place?
I mean, that account's probably out of state.
You said that account's closed?
The joint account is closed. From my understanding, the executor account is with United Bank here in Summersville. Or the estate account.
Money could be withdrawn and sent somewhere else, is your point? Yes. And how do you get that part taken care of?
Well, whoever you would appoint would have to carry it back.
Gotcha. Should we appoint the sheriff? Now, should we remove, do we automatically have to go to the sheriff as the
No.
executive?
I think that would be a better course.
If you appoint someone, they would have to post a bond where the sheriff doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
And if there's been some misactivity done, then the sheriff,
Did she have a bond?
Yeah.
there was a will.
Is there sufficient assets to cover all these, present?
Yeah, there's.
Can we review the file there also?
There's real estate on the right, the home,
Yes.
Where is it located? Mount Nebo?
Mount Nebo.
and,
You live there?
of course, like, there was $13,465 in the bank account. But as I said before, there was some claims paid, like there's one, I don't know how much you paid, because sometimes you can negotiate with them. One was $25,000, and then one was $770. So I don't know, if that came out of that. But there is a home, looks like there's several pieces of real estate.
What's the value of the real estate?
Well, she's got it at $96,660.
So there should be sufficient assets to cover the claims.
So, and then, yeah, it's a medical bill that's over $70,000, which, sometimes you can call these people and they're just glad to get something.
I can have some information about that. I don't have any evidence of this, but initially the hospitals had billed the insurance. It was denied. They put a claim on the estate. It's been since paid, but they have to remove the claim. And there's a third-party organization that had 60 days to review all this and is coming towards that its final 60 days.
Well, that'll be good. And then we'll have one left. And it's probably a credit card for a Lowe's credit card for $6,337.27. But again, they can be spoken to, and a lot of times that can be cleared up.
Can we see the?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you.
When was the last
Is the
time you
will
had
in here?
access or had viewing of
Yes,
the
the estate account, I've not seen that.
At all?
No.
Okay. So you guys just know what she disclosed then? That's all they would
Okay,
know.
I'm sorry, I'm lost.
If something has to be submitted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right, last one.
That's it.
Commissioner, all they would know is that those
What's?
releases have come through.
Do you have an issue with the sheriff?
It's the executor account. Honestly, I think I would like to have that, but if that's not possible, I understand that.
And that wouldn't be a problem, but you're gonna have to purchase a bond,
Okay.
which will start at $100 from an insurance agency.
Okay.
We can discuss that if they decide that that's the route that
If the sheriff is appointed, he does not have to post a bond, and that can be made effective today.
That's what I was gonna say, the effective date's what we're looking at here.
Well,
And
and
that
Sarah
can also
Ann,
change.
that's your mother?
Yes.
Is she still alive or is she?
She passed away about a year before my father
Okay,
did.
so she's.
She's a fine lady.
That's the one you used to work with? Yeah.
Fine lady.
So if we could transfer it to the sheriff, that would be effective today, and then at some point in time, we could shift it
You
over
could shift
if
it
the
back,
desire was there.
purchases along and things like that.
Yes.
So would that require the sheriff to
You could take
seize
possession today.
assets?
He could go up and take control of the account once you all have entered an order to appoint him.
Okay, so that will at least secure things.
That would be, yes, that sounds amazing.
Okay.
Well, now, the sheriff has to be here today for me to do all that. I mean, he has papers he'll have to sign, and then he can take care of it. But if he's not in town,
Understood.
I mean, I can't get him appointed today.
But as soon as,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
understood. Understood.
And he loves being appointed.
I'm
Yes,
sure.
Shannon takes care of that.
He does an excellent job.
Yes, she stays right on it.
I think that's a
Appoint the
good.
sheriff as the executor at this time.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against the motion, does carry. Appreciate your time. Hopefully, things can keep moving forward, be resolved.
Thank you, I appreciate your all time.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Grandma.
you. We'll go back on recess. All right. We do have with us Robert Johnson from the Richwood Airport with a funding request of the commission.
And I'll provide this one to you. Firstly, I'd like to thank the commission for adding this funding request to your working agenda today. The Airport Authority in Richwood needs a funding amount of $15,000 to maintain our airport facilities. Approximately 1/3 of the requested amount would help defray the property and liability insurance burden of the airport. The remainder is needful to maintain the property for its seasonal mowing and related expenses. The logistical challenge for mowing the nearly 53 acres tract is an undertaking, particularly in this consistent rainy season, the monsoon that we are currently experiencing. Although we are fortunate to have a grounds tractor, the fuel and essential maintenance costs are substantial. Additionally, we're under federal aviation requirements to soon refresh the standard pavement markings for the airstrip. The safety of the airport usage dictates highly visible runway markings for landings. Ours have faded to render them marginal at best. While ours is a municipal airport, the city simply does not now have the resources to devote to its operations. And lastly, on behalf of the Richwood Airport Authority, we would greatly appreciate your consideration of this funding request. Should any additional information be helpful, please do not hesitate in contacting us.
Do you all do your own mowing or contract that out? or-
We do our unloading.
Oh, really? Okay. I wasn't sure.
It's voluntarily done usually by either a person from the city crew or one of our members.
How many planes do you have on there?
We have one and an ultralight. The ultralight does not count for Federal Aviation Administration counting, so but we do have an aircraft. One of our former members is its owner and pilot. And one member of our authority is also a licensed pilot, although he doesn't fly for the moment.
Have you guys ever tried to qualify for like the FAA funding for maintenance and upkeep?
We have done so because of some restrictions in that grant application program. We're unable to qualify for any assistance from FAA. Most of that funding is geared for much larger airports, and we just don't qualify.
Are your facilities in pretty good shape?
Generally speaking, yes. And the tarmac is even a few feet longer than the existing Summersville Airport, in fact.
Who actually owns that?
City of Richwood.
Yeah, they own it with a callback if they were to ever quit using it for an airport.
Actually, that document has never been found.
Okay.
So there is no reversion.
Okay.
So can you all not piggyback their insurance?
Well, yeah, we in fact do so, but we have such limited income in the form of the hangar rent and so forth. It does not cover the cost of the insurance.
Of what you have to reimburse the city?
The city picks up the tab, we just don't have any method to defray those costs. Of almost $5,000 per year.
And does your $15,000 include the restriping and everything like that?
Yes, it does. And frankly, we will have to use a fallback paint. The usually specified FAA paint is several $100s per gallon because it contains reflective material of a certain dimension. But as one FAA inspector said, even latex paint of the right color and sizes looks just fine from 10,000 feet.
I'd like to investigate this a little more, so we can take a look at that.
I'd recommend a motion to approve economic development. I mean, I think it's gonna have to be done, but I can't make a motion.
You recommend the full amount?
Yeah.
See, I was looking, so, without, I'm trying to at least find words in honesty here. Sustainable, so there are no, to my knowledge, in the past couple of years, the only thing that's taken place up there is either, would be the one individual that's flying and the flea market?
That's correct.
Right, and that's one of the things I'm looking at, you know, like the usability of the airport. I definitely don't want to lose that resource and, don't want to have to cover with insurance and stuff, but, the investments going into, that's, I can't justify that part in my mind, for a flea market. And then piggybacking onto the city, so the insurance is there, it's just the city covers it and you would be reimbursing. Right, so at that point, if we make zero investment, the airport still stays standing as is. No gains, no losses.
That's correct.
Okay. So as far as stripes, I mean, a contribution towards paint or something like that would be my suggestion. And, half the insurance or something, I don't know, we could figure that out. It's just, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, it's just if there was more use of the area.
Right.
And I don't think there's nothing that's restricted that so far, other than just maybe the desire or the location or something like that. That's just my 3 cents. Let's call it 2, it's a lot of words.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will investigate.
Yeah,
this.
well, then the reason I say that, we have our own airport manager on extra here, and if we send Tim up there to take a look at it, and not that we're invading your space, but we now have an airport manager on payroll here at the courthouse.
Utilize resources.
Yeah, utilize and see if they could work in conjunction and something like that.
Quite appropriate, thank you.
Definitely not a no.
Yeah, and then I'm like Gary, I have such a hard time just throwing out money for something you're gonna be back here next year asking for it. You know what I'm saying?
Fully understand.
Or if like there was an air show or something that took place and we could see that, the general benefit to the general public is kind of what I'm getting
And
at.
it takes us so much to keep ours going, so I know what costs.
Historically, we have done fly-ins.
Yes, sir.
Usually a small number, but every year we did sponsor fly-ins. And they were great events. Were they great money makers?
Right.
Well, not necessarily, but, yeah.
There's no money in there.
No,
CRW.
yeah, they probably just get break even.
Okay, well, I motion we table this, and I have an airport board meeting this afternoon, I'll bring it up.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We would need access to
Yeah,
the gate for him.
or you can go through the back way.
He can call City Hall
Doug cut it off.
anytime and arrange keying.
You can go up, okay, but from behind, you can't go around.
That's all. You can go through,
Doug Spencer.
side by side.
Yeah, you
To
can.
the lost part.
Okay, yeah, you can go there.
Because I ended up there one day looking at the lost part. That's the only reason I know. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
That being said, we're now at Commissioner's comments. I have none.
I got one quick one. So, I said in a meeting last week, for the Tri-River Rail Trail, and they're actually renaming that, trying to rebrand. And I really honestly believe, and I wholeheartedly believe, that we have some opportunities with that, some water trails based on another meeting I was in. And I would like to see, a county-wide involvement. We've got some sponsorships, which I'd like to see if maybe if the county could actually sponsor a mile of the trail. We're looking for $1,000 a year. I'm a non-voting member on the board. But I think that, there's some opportunities for tourism with a low investment. And I really think that, with the park, we've got an opportunity here that's probably, we complain about some of the things that took place in the past and didn't pass. We didn't bring in a brewer, we didn't bring in a dam, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. And I think this is our turn and our opportunity here, and I'd like to jump in on some of the smaller investments that we could make into tourism. Potential rail trail, river trail, those types of things. Even if we just gather resources, and I know some of the things that they're looking at are in-kind donations, which we're doing with the tractor right now. I think that's definitely, but I'd like to keep that on the front of the radar. It doesn't necessarily have to be that project, but it should include. We've got a lot of folks that come in, and I think it would be utilized. It's a 28-mile round trip. Just to get folks in here, throw them on a river, throw them on a trail, do those types of things. So I think that we should definitely back the tourism aspect in any way that we can.
Okay, very good. I lied, I do have one thing. Don't forget the Nicholas County Fair this week, today through Saturday. Go out and support everything the new fair board has been doing to keep that tradition in the county alive.
And you can throw a ball at a commissioner or at the actual
Yeah,
target.
4 to
on
8
Saturday night.
p.m. The Nicholas County Commission will be your friends on the dunking booth. Please only come when Commissioner Roberts is on the booth.
That's ample time.
Here. That being said, is there
Motion to
anything
adjourn.
else or a motion to adjourn? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, the motion does carry, and we do stand adjourned.